dear devotees, and welcome to today's session. How are you doing? I pray that all is well with you and your families at this time. So today we're moving on to the 16th verse of the binding of Krishna, Mother Yashoda binding Krishna. This chapter 9 of the 10th canto, and we are following this journey of understanding this deep love that Mother Yashoda has for baby Krishna. So step by step we've been going through so far, and now Mother Yashoda has caught Krishna and she's trying to bind him. But what is she finding? That each time she tries to put the rope around him, it ends up being short. So now she's in the process of getting more rope. So let's see where this goes. So text number 16. Yada sittat api nyunam tena nyadapi sandhadhe tad api jai angulam nyunam yada yada adata bandhanam. Translation: this new rope also was short by a measurement of 2 fingers. So as we're following the story, we're seeing Mother Yashoda has finally caught Krishna, and now she's trying to bind him. So as we as sadhakas trying to appreciate this, we can appreciate what is the thing that allowed her to bind Krishna, to catch Krishna. We see that it is only because of her prema, her deep love for Krishna, that this is possible. In Nectar of Devotion, it's described very early in the first chapter that one of the attributes or qualities of devotional service is that Krishna is all attractive, but devotional service is so attractive it can even attract him. So how is he all attractive then? From our perspective, he's all attractive. Krishna, the word Krishna means the one who is all attractive. He has 6 opulences. So from our perspective in the material world and the conditioned state, he is all attractive. But this thing, devotional service, is so powerful, so pure, so pristine that it can even attract him. That means he's not all attractive. Devotional service can even attract him. That's why in the personified form, this is Srimati Radharani. So Krishna's name then, in terms of the Leela, is Madan Mohan. If you see our background here, this is the Madan Mohan temple in the background by Sanatana Goswami in Vrindavan. So we see that this is the temple that Sanatana Goswami built for the deities of Madan Mohan. But Radharani's name is Madan Mohan Mohini. So we see this beautiful temple, Radha Madan Mohan Temple Ki Jai. So Madan Mohan Mohini, she is the enchanter of Madan Mohan. So he is not all enchanting, he is not all attractive. When it comes to bhakti or devotion, there are these different personalities that are able to attract even him. So when we start the yoga ladder, we start with appreciating in Bhagavad Gita, appreciating the different rungs on the yoga ladder, starting with karma yoga, then Jnana Yoga, then Astanga Yoga, then Bhakti Yoga as we go up the yoga ladder. But once we enter into the spiritual world, there's also another kind of gradation that is there in terms of prema. And that is the 5 rasas, the relationships that are there with Krishna. They're not progressive. Just like the yoga ladder is progressive, we start from karma and end up in bhakti. This is not a progressive ladder. This is just to show the depth of the love. So we start with Shantaras, this is neutrality. Then we move on to servitude, Dasyaras. Then we move on to Sakyaras, friendship. Then we move on to Vatsalyaras, maternal love. And then we move on to conjugal love, the Madhurya Ras. This is the crest jewel of the relationship of devotees with Krishna in Vrindavan. So all of these are prominent. So all of these have their place in its ultimate expression in Vrindavan. So we're trying to philosophically conceive of this concept of devotional service and love with texts like Nectar of Devotion and this particular one. Because if we don't appreciate the majesty first, then you can't appreciate the Leela. It's not possible. Because if you look at Krishna, he's behaving like an ordinary child and she's just behaving like an ordinary mother, right? One would observe this and see, oh, any mother would do this. Any mother would take care of the child and do these pastimes. So why is it different? It's different because of the person who's there. It's different because you're dealing with God here. That's why Krishna is saying, Abhijananti Mamudha Manusham Tam Ashritam Param Bhavam Ajananto Mama Bhuta Maheshwaram. They Param Bhavam, they think I come in this human kind of form, I take avatar. Abhijanati Ma Mudha. These Mudha, fool people, foolish who have less knowledge, they don't have the complete picture. Manusham Tanum Ashritam. They think I take shelter of this human form, Manusha form. That I came in this human form, therefore I'm behaving just like a human being, therefore I must be human. Param Bhavam Ajananto. They don't know my higher nature. Only the devotees know my higher nature. They don't know my higher nature. They don't know my higher nature. Param Bhavam Ajananto. They don't know. So when we are assessing this, first appreciate the majesty of who we're dealing with here. If we know who we're dealing with, and then it becomes sweeter to see that he is now behaving like an ordinary child. He is now crying. He is now fighting with his mother. He is now running in fear. Then it becomes sweeter. Just like Satyavrata Muni is saying, Namam Ishwaram Satchitananda Rupam. I know who you are, my Lord. Namam Ishwaram. I'm offering my pranams to you. But I know who you are, although you're behaving just like a little child. So we're seeing from yesterday that Mother Yashoda is trying to tie, and the rope that she has is 2 fingers too short. So she goes today to get more rope and come. And she's trying to tie, and it's still coming 2 fingers short. So by logic, we were saying yesterday, if you reduce 1 round, you'll have extra rope. You can easily tie. But no, it's still coming short. So what are these 2 fingers too short? So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that these 2 fingers are mercy and endeavor. This is the why there's 2 fingers too short. One is the mercy, the other is the endeavor. Both are needed. The devotee needs to endeavor, then he'll get the mercy of the Lord. That is why when Krishna saw Mother Yashoda, that she was tired and she was running and the flowers were falling from the hair and she was perspiring, then he stopped running. He allowed her to catch him because she endeavored so much. So he gave his mercy. So both of these go together. You cannot get mercy if there's no endeavor. We won't say cannot in the absolute sense, because there's also situations where Krishna gives mercy just freely without any endeavor. But for us as sadhana bhaktas, as sadhakas, we need to endeavor. We have to endeavor. So for us as sadhakas, we have to endeavor. This is the process which is given. Vaidhi Bhakti, which leads to Raganuga Bhakti, which leads to Bhava Bhakti. This is the process given in Nectar of Devotion. So we see that Krishna, in at least all of these childhood leelas, he shows some kind of power of God, some majesty. He shows some majesty. Why? Because if we don't appreciate the majesty, then you cannot appreciate the sweetness. You cannot appreciate that this is the Supreme Lord here. We're dealing with the Supreme Lord. That's why in Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna had already got his realization in the 10th chapter. He already said, Prabhupada quoted that verse yesterday, Param bhavam, param dhamam, pavitram paramam bhavam, purusham shashvatam divyam, adidevam ajam vibhum. In the 10.12, he explained, Arjuna declared, "O Krishna, you are Param Brahman, you are the Supreme Brahman. Param Dhamam, Pavitram Paramam Bhavam. You are the Supreme Pure, you are the abode of everything. Purusham, but you are also a person. Purusham Shashvatam Divyam. You are the person in which everything is coming from. And Adi Devam Ajam Vibhum. Although you are unborn, you are the Supreme Person, because it's not a material birth, and you are Adi Devam, you are the original Supreme Personality of Godhead." So having said that in the 10th chapter, after appreciating this majesty of Krishna, then Krishna showed him 11th chapter. So in 10th chapter, he heard all the vibhutis, the different potencies of Krishna. And at the end, what Krishna said, "Mama teja samsa sambhava," this is just a spark of my splendor. So he heard all the vibhutis in the 10th chapter. In the 11th chapter, he saw all the vibhutis. So both levels of majesty he experienced by hearing about it and by seeing it. 11th chapter is universal form. So he saw all these things that he heard in the 10th chapter, he saw in the 11th chapter. Then 12th chapter, devotional service. So you see, even in Bhagavad Gita, it follows this system. Because if you don't understand who you're dealing with, you're going to just take it as an ordinary person here. And there's nothing great going to be about it. It's just going to be an ordinary mother, village mother, cow herder, pastoral community. This mother is taking care of his little child. No, it's not as simple as that. This is a Supreme Lord here. So therefore, from time to time, Krishna shows his majesty. It's more for us than to bewilder the inhabitants of Vrindavan, because he knows their level of love already. They don't have to prove anything more to him. That's the spiritual world. It's an advert for us. That's why certain pastimes don't occur in the spiritual world, like Krishna taking birth and things like that. All of that only appears here in the material world. So to appreciate this, we must appreciate there's a certain sweetness, there's a certain enjoyment in the heart when you see a senior person or a respected person acting as a little child. You know, the childlike nature in everyone comes out. There's a certain sweetness in that that's just captivating. So that's what comes out in Krishna. Prabhupada gives that story of the judge. I think he was a judge or some judicial person who was somebody had an appointment with this judge. So he was waiting and waiting and waiting sitting in the waiting area. So he was waiting, and then he could hear behind the door there's some noise. The little child is laughing, but the door wasn't fully closed, it was slightly opened. So he crept up quietly and he pushed the door, and he saw that this judge, big person, is playing horse. He's going down on his all fours, and his little grandson is sitting on his back, and he's going around like a horse. So this is a big person, but he's playing like a little child, playing like a horse for his grandson. Just see what love can do. I was remembering Prabhupada also, because Prabhupada had this childlike nature as well. One incident in Lilamrita where he was closing his bag, and the bag didn't want to close because he stuffed in so much of stuff. He push it, doesn't want to lock. So what he did, he jumped on the bed and jumped on the bag. He jumped on the bag, and then he clicked it to close. So when you look at this, can you imagine the founder Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness jumps on his bag to close it. This is what this sweetness does. That's why Prabhupada would say sometimes when he would defeat and challenge these philosophers and people who would come to argue, he would challenge and say, "Hey, you all don't try this as my disciples. Old man and small child can do anything, go anywhere." So if we always connect to the child within us, Not be childish now, but connect to the child. That child always experiences a sweeter dimension of life. A sweeter, because it's innocent. The innocent nature of our being comes out. Because everything else we've learnt in this world, we've chosen, we've looked at the whole world and said, I want to be like this. Don't they ask you when you're small what you want to be? They're already conditioning you to act, be, talk, walk, do everything in that way. And you start, oh, I'm Professor Frog. You didn't know that. Well, now you know that. Yeah, you see, I'm the biggest fool in the universe. So you start to act, walk, talk in a certain way, and gradually, without even knowing it, you develop a personality. And that personality matches who you want to be and become. So, aristocratic. Oh, I'm bourgeoisie. I'm bourgeoisie now, So we become these things. So we learned all these things. But the innocent nature, everybody can get tickled. Like a little child. Everybody can get tickled. Everybody can get tickled. Everybody can, within himself, laughs at something, jokes at something. So that nature Krishna just personifies in Vrindavan. That's why no shoes, you see. Can you imagine Supreme Lord, no shoes, is running barefoot there. Just dhoti and whole body covered in goduli, ash, this dust from the cows. And he's playing in the forest of Vrindavan. They're jumping on him. Sridham wins, jumps on him. Sudama wins, jumps on him. Balaram wins. Stoka Krishna. So all of these pastimes cannot happen if they think he's God. Oh, you're going to jump on God's head? No. But there's sweetness in that. Therefore, when they relate to it, it becomes very relishable. And in the personified form and in the perfected state, Vrindavan has all these devotees. That's why Vrindavan is so special to Krishna. So translation goes on. And when another rope was joined to it, it was still 2 fingers too short. So here we're seeing spiritual mathematics. 1 plus 1 is 1. Which school you went to? You went to school or went past the school? So in spiritual mathematics, 1 plus 1 equals 1. 1 minus 1 equals 1. 1 divided by 1 equals 1. And 1 subtracted by 1 equals 1. This is spiritual mathematics. So Mother Yashoda is now trying to add these ropes on. So we see as she's adding these ropes, she's adding so much rope actually. She's getting from the neighbors and everyone. She's adding so much rope. If you think about it, you won't even need to bind Krishna. There's so much rope around him. That's already going to hold him tight. So the Acharyas tell us that Krishna had this belt around his waist called the Kinkini belt. Little children were decorated with this when they're babies. So this belt was fitting fine. How come the rope is not going around? Morning when she put that belt for him, it fitted fine. Now when she's putting this rope, it's not going. Because he didn't desire it. You endeavor, but his mercy has to come also. Not that just your endeavor, you'll get the reward. Be careful of that kind of devotional service. That service where we do, that's the problem with tapasya. Because you expect a result at the end. Oh, I did this, I did fasting, I did whole month of Kartika, I abstained from this, I gave up this, I went Ekadasi, I did all these things. So by doing all of that, you're expecting a result at the end. That's not going to be devotional service. Ahoitikeya pratyata yayatma suprasiddhati. To satisfy the soul, yayatma, suprasiddhati. To satisfy the soul, ahoitiki apratyata. No lamentation and no hankering. No lamentation and no hankering. Then only the soul becomes satisfied. This is a very deep, deep point. Very deep point. Because until the point comes when our religious practice becomes our spiritual practice, until the point comes when what we do as religion becomes devotional service, we are always going to be wanting something from Krishna. And we heard yesterday's purport, please read it, where Krishna is saying, he himself takes care of his devotee. He doesn't leave it to anybody else. He himself does it. Personally takes care of his devotee. So if you're in the Lord's hands, whether it comes or doesn't come, it's in his hands. Leave it. He gave so many things without you asking also, right? So this one thing didn't come and now it's the end of the world, end of your religion, end of your belief. I don't believe in God anymore. So we have to come to the point of practicing ahitikiya pratihata. No hankering, no lamentation. So when we do activity expecting a result, that's why tapasya even traps us. We're talking about how Maya traps us. She is so expert, she can use even that to trap you. She traps you actually. Everything you are asking for is simply a manipulation of God, manipulating His kindness. So we don't ask for it, but we leave it at His lotus feet. That is the mood of the devotee. Prabhupada taught us to pray like this: my Lord, if you so desire, I would like this, I'm leaving it at your lotus feet. If you so desire, please give it or don't give it. So we have to, this is why the first instruction Krishna gives is Matra Sparsa tu Kaunteya, 2.14. Sitoshna Sukha Dukada Agama Payano Nityastam Statiksva Bharata. You have to become tolerant. Statiksva. Oh Bharata, oh son of Bharata, Arjun, scion of Bharata. You have to be balanced, equipoised between happiness and distress and hot and cold. You have to be equipoised. If you're not equipoised, you haven't even started your spiritual practice yet. You're still practicing religion. You're not practicing spirituality. So don't get caught up in the karma kanda ritualistic. Ritualistic means I do something, I want a reward. And He'll very gladly give it, but more and more you'll get entangled, because where does your desire stop? How much of desires do we have? And where does it stop? Unlimited desires. Just see the mind. Just see the mind, how it goes restless. All of that is desires. All of that we've put into the mind. And now when it's kicking it back out, we don't like it. You know, the scriptures give a very graphic example. They say when you're eating food, it's very tasty, but it can come out as vomit. Then it's so terrible. But you put it in as food. So when you were putting it in, it was very nice. Now when it's coming out, you don't like it. Very graphic. Sorry for the PG. Sorry for the graphicness. But this is what it says. That when you're putting it into the mouth, oh, very tasty. Paneer and puris and shabji and everything. But when it comes out as vomit, is it not the same thing? But now you don't like it. So everything that's spinning in our head and spinning in our mind is what we put in. And now when it's coming out, we don't like it. It's manifesting. It's combining in the head and coming out as desires. And we don't like it. So think carefully of what we're doing. If we want to enter Vrindavan, if we want to understand the bhava, the mood of Mother Yashoda, this is essential. Otherwise, we're just fooling ourselves. We're just playing house game, with religion. So be very careful. You've come so far, so much sincerity. You've come so far to understand Krishna now. Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudullava. Krishna is even calling you a Mahatma, 7.19. He's saying, Bahunam Janmana Ante Gyanavam Mam Prapadyante. After many lives, they come to know about me. Who? Vasudev Sarvamiti. That Krishna is the source and the cause of everything. Sa Mahatma Sudullabha is a great soul, is a Mahatma. So don't disappoint him and don't disappoint yourself. Do the right thing and move ahead with great determination by Krishna's shelter and mercy.
So he goes on to say, as many ropes as she joined, all of them failed. Their shortness could not be overcome.
So we see when Krishna doesn't want something to happen, it won't happen. And if he wants something to happen by exhibiting his unlimited nature, he can. Just like he did for Draupadi as well. Unlimited sari. We heard of so many different incarnations. Varaha, Kurma, Ram. So many incarnations. Draupadi, sari incarnation. Just see. He incarnated as sari, unlimited sari. Spinach, that one Draupadi didn't wash the pot properly, one piece of spinach was there. He took that and all Durvasa Muni and all his army of devotees there and all his army of disciples were all satisfied. So this is Krishna. When he wants to exhibit his unlimited potency, nothing can stop him. But there is something that can. Prema. Love can stop him. Love can stop him manifesting his... Because Mother Yashoda doesn't relate to Krishna as that. Oh, I am the supreme God. Hey, you crying here and breaking the pots and everything. Immediately, he can't be God. Immediately, his potency to be God, finished. So this is what love does. This is what love can do. And this is what's happening in the heart of Krishna and in the heart of Mother Yashoda. So I hope you enjoyed our class today. Please join us again tomorrow. Hare Krishna.